museums are repositories of the past, but also they collect things that are relevant to the present, and always thinking about what are the significant turning points or cultural events that people are going to want to remember in the future. And unfortunately, in recent history, I suppose it's mostly been disastrous things that have been the focus of contemporary collecting. So things like the Imperial War Museum started during World War I to collect World War I while it was happening. And I guess now we're part of this at the Atlas Pandemica project, and we're collecting items and memories relating to the coronavirus as it happens. So we, as a museum that's about the people of Dumfries and Galloway and the history of Dumfries and Galloway, obviously the pandemic has been a huge part of that. So it's important that we collect it, and the Atlas will be a welcome addition to our collection. We've got collections that relate to, as Joanne McKay has explored in her work, to the cholera epidemic. We don't have much that goes back as far as the bubonic plague, but we have got objects that relate to the Middle Ages. So I think it's important to recognise the continuities and changes in the past, and this will help us to do that.
So part of this atlas is there's a futures document which I guess sets out almost like policy proposals that we would like to see going forward, or that were really, I guess, some of the key outcomes that were imagined by a lot of the projects going through the Atlas Pandemica project. And one of them was really about the role that historical perspectives play in decision making, and actually how we can, as a community, be influenced by those historical perspectives.
I guess with the museum, thinking forwards is something we always want to do, is to think about our audiences and our visitors and how we can best serve those, and how traditional museum displays or static objects and cases might not resonate with everyone, and things can be quite off-putting for people. You know, too much text, too much information, it's elitist, it's too white, it's too male, it's too whatever. And thinking about diversity. So I think the pandemic really has helped us think about our community and think about our audiences. And that's something we want to embed in our work going forwards. But I also think it's about caring for each other, and generally being a caring place to work, and Dumfries and Galloway Council being a caring place to work, where you value people because they're people, not just because they're economic units of whatever. And also having that flexibility that I think the pandemic's brought in, and the global connectivity. Certainly, like now, my work is different than it was 2 years ago. You Teams people, you Zoom people all the time. You would never have dreamed of doing that. So actually, it's opened up a lot of doors as well, and hopefully that work will continue.
What do you think the active role of museums is in shaping societies more broadly?
Do museums shape society, or does society shape museums? We would hope it would be the latter. That museums are a mirror, a reflection of what's happening in society, but also that the people who work in museums, who have an understanding of history, have objectivity or an understanding of this grand sweeping scale of things, and an interest in preserving it for the future. So maybe it gives them a slightly different perspective. But yes, that's a big question.
It is a big question.
It's a huge question, but I think museums are hugely important to identity, well-being, culture, enjoyment, stimulation,
I guess like a real sense of like pride as well, right? I mean, this is the idea that part of the world that we're inhabiting is going to be shared or documented or kept somewhere like this. Suddenly, that feels like us taking note of what's happening here and wanting to really care for what's been happening, and that feels like an important activity to be doing, right?
Yeah, and also I suppose that idea of society and museums is the changing nature of who features in museums. And I think the pandemic would be a good example in Karen's stories. It's normal people's stories, and museums in the past tend to be about the rich, the powerful, the people who can donate massive things, or national trust properties or whatever. And I think the shift is towards the ordinary people and the social history, and people seeing things that resonate with them and connect with them in their lives. And I think that's very important, that museums reflect that, and that also they help to celebrate and share and instill pride in things that maybe seem more mundane or seem more everyday.
Yeah, it's so exciting. Okay, I'm going to give you your Atlas.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
I
Judith.
passed my test.
Thank you.
Thanks.